Hello everybody, and welcome to the LJL Officially Unofficial, bringing you coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Finals. I will be your host, Alex, otherwise known as Lexi, go by Mars Swan on the internet. Of course, I am joined by the illustrious duo, my close friends and casting partners, Initialize and Nightmare, the Hapgood brothers. Gentlemen, welcome to the cast.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here. We've been waiting for a long time to get to this point, and we're finally here.
Yeah, and it has been a full year of coverage for us. Out of our own bedrooms, off of our own backs. This will be the last series for the LJL Summer 2020. We've done it, guys. We've done it.
We've actually almost completed the full run. Just a finals to go. And what a finals we have been given, gentlemen. V3 Esports having one of the hottest years in their organization's history, becoming the top seed, running through a gauntlet match and been sitting it pretty in these finals for a while. Whereas over on the opposite end, the Kings, the Emperor himself in the mid lane, Syros, DetonatioN FocusMe haven't been having their best year. If anything, it's their worst year, but they've made it to the finals. What a series we're going to be having here.
And that's what makes these narratives so interesting. These teams could not have had different paths. DFM, you know them, you love them. They've been on the international stage so many times. We don't know whether they're heroes or villains, but this split, they were made to look a little bit foolish at points. However, there was always the chance they were going to come back, and now through Burning Core, through CGA, through Sengoku, they have made it to the finals, and they are here to challenge V3, who have had the other side of the coin.
V3 Esports have had one of the most dominant splits we have seen in a long time. For the longest time, we thought this is the team that will go undefeated this split. They didn't quite make it, but they certainly made an impression going to the scoreline they did when they've got superstars like Boogie, like Reiner on the roster, when they are playing fast, when they are playing jungle focused, when they're looking for bot lane dives. It's exciting League of Legends, it's fast League of Legends, and frankly, it's pretty damn clean League of Legends.
V3 have actually had some world-breaking stats. Top of the leaderboard when you look across it. Reiner and Boogie really showing that they are international talent-worthy players. These are players that have really shown that the LJL has more than one team to offer. DetonatioN FocusMe, your rivals are here, and they were waiting for you in these finals. Now let's talk about DFM and the run that they've had to go through in playoffs, gentlemen, as they started as a round 1 seed, didn't they, Nightmare?
It did, and they started there because they had this very awkward regular split. Of course, we've been saying throughout this entire split, they have never had less than an 80% regular season win record. This split, they had 50%. Only just above that, if you get to take into account the tiebreaker they had to have to get into that 4th place spot. They ended up going as Burning Core in the first round, and immediately things did not look all well. They went to 5 games. Burning Core really pushed them, credit to them, but DFM we had a lot of questions of. They overcame that. Then they went up against Crest Gaming Act in the next round, and CGA were the only top team in, well, the only team in the top 4 to have, for DFM to have actually beaten them. They lost 2-0 versus V3 and Sengoku. They dismantled them in 3-1. Sengoku, maybe even worse in the next round. It's been a journey, and maybe we've simplified it a bit much there, but they're definitely gaining some momentum.
Go on, Initialize. I could tell you wanted to carry on. I'm going to let you.
Just that it has been such a trauma to try and work out whether it's time to count out DFM or not. And frankly, they've proven a lot of their haters wrong. This is a team that a lot of fans love and a lot of fans really want to see fail. They've won for so damn long. They want to see other people get a chance, and DFM really don't want to give that up right yet.
I mean, there was a meme going around from a friend of mine that was saying, I told you so about DFM. I told him that DFM weren't having the same split they normally have, that it's time to write them off. And then he went, well, look at EU. Well, there's always a chance that everyone turns it around. There is the script in place, and we wanted to go against it, and DetonatioN FocusMe said otherwise, didn't they?
Well, remember, this is the same finals as last year, 2019 summer finals. The first thing that when we first started picking up casting, we were practicing over those games. Those are the games, and those are the matchups that we saw. Very different team from V3. There is no Yusora Miyashi anymore. There is no Baby, now River over in the PCS. It's a very different, rebuilt team. However, the name tags are still there. The brands, the colors are on show. And it's happened again. It's not quite GT versus Fnatic, but at least it's a reprise.
It's almost our version of this due to the level of players on both teams and how well these teams have been playing. V3 are the team that need to be checked. No team has been able to really match them consistently to any level, and DetonatioN FocusMe have had to run the gauntlet up. They had to be pushed to the full limit, and, well, regardless of the matches and the series, they've done it. They went from round 1 all the way to the finals, and that's what's impressive, gentlemen. Now, over on the official stream during their pre-show, we got to see the predictions come out from each of the casters. They gave their reasons for why they reached it, and it was a little bit all over the place. So it's time for us here over on the LJL Officially Unofficial to give our predictions and our reasons for this matchup. Initialize. Would you like to begin us, sir?
Yes. So my prediction for this finals matchup, the analytical part of me says that V3, with their incredible regular season dominance, should be fairly heavily favored in this matchup. The way things are, they should go 3-1. But I think my heart is saying that I want to see it go to all 5 games. I think it'll be 3-2 to V3. I think DFM have improved a lot over the gauntlet run. And I still think that V3 have been showing some of the best League of Legends we've seen in the LJL in quite a while. So I'm hoping it should be a close matchup. I'm hoping the bot lanes pretty evenly matched up. Should keep it close. I think it'll still break in favor of V3 just about.
For 1 second, for one heart-wrenching second, I thought you were going to say 3-2 DFM.
No.
So okay. I myself think it will also be a 3-2 to V3. And my reasoning for that is in the same way Sam saying was very on-form bot lanes. I think we have the best AD carries and the best supports in the region performing in this finals, and the junglers are also the best in their roles. There are so many players on the Rift today which are going to be out of their minds. The teams have very unique practiced combos on both sides. We had Lilia Sion from V3 versus Sengoku. We had Shen Leona from DetonatioN FocusMe. Each of these teams has taken a different approach to the meta. They look very practiced and comfortable on it.
Yeah.
The question is, who comes out on top with that today?
And for myself, everybody, I'm predicting V3 Esports to be victorious. But I got to go for the spicy one. They're going to do it 3-1 this time. A repeat of their gauntlet match. Nothing's changing for them. They have been unrivaled. And why would it start now, gentlemen? Why would it start now? And part of that is also, I don't know if DFM have been fully benchmarked, as on the other side, I know how good V3 still are. They showed that same dominance, and they almost could have 3-0'd in some worlds versus Sengoku, due to just how well they were playing, regardless of actually how the games played out. But DFM could also just scare me in 3-1 V3, which is when I'm scared. Go for it, Nightmare.
I think the thing for V3, and there's a point which I jumped in on it because it's a story which we've been carrying through, and we talked about a little bit. When V3 lost versus Sengoku, when they lost that game, and not versus CGA, that's the one which I'm thinking of, in the regular season,
yes.
they had quite a bad draft. They couldn't end up doing much with it. And yet they made it a competitive game. And yet they found like a 4-second window to find a gank in the bot lane in the one situation they could have found a gank that game. And they made it into an even confrontation. Against Sengoku, actually, a similar kind of thing happened where Boogie was playing Kha'Zix against a team where he couldn't really use his champion to his full extent. And he still found the limits of what he could do in that composition. V3 have played ridiculously well, even when the odds are stacked against them, as opposed to someone like Sengoku, who kind of fell apart when they were put into bad situations yesterday versus DetonatioN FocusMe, or maybe some of the other teams like CGA as well. V3, if they bring that attitude today, should make for one hell of a series if DFM have turned up.
Yeah, and this series from both of these teams could be completely game-changing. If we are able to see V3 become victorious, gentlemen, this will be the first team in 3 years to make Worlds that isn't Detonation FocusMe. That's the kind of dominance this team has had. And it would also be really cool to see this because we would be sending a rookie for the first time from the LJL to Worlds in Archer.
I mean, that's the kind of difference, right, isn't it? Excuse me.
It's okay.
DFM have got some of the longest tenured players in the world on their squad, like Seros and
Two and tied, yeah.
The second, I think they're just behind Faker for the longest time. People have been on an organization behind, as we said, Faker on T1, and that's compared to Archer, right? Who's been going for what, half a year at this point?
Yeah.
And that kind of disparity in experience is definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, let's make no bones about it. V3 have a lot of experience on their squad as well. Boogie is a former Worlds player himself.
And Sam just needs to take himself a drink and take a bit of a dry throat.
I have no mute over here, only you have that power.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, no, I think there is something to be said about V3 versus DFM. Very different story to what it was last year. You know, there were a lot more tenured players on V3 that last year. You told him, Ash, you know, we talk about this guy being one of the most popular players in the LJL. He's been around for forever. He's been on DFM in the past too. And now for them to lose that player, come back, make finals yet again with a guy, Archer, who is arguably the best performing AD in this split. It's been a very different story, like I've been saying, but it doesn't mean that there aren't hallmarks of the same kind of greatness.
No, and those hallmarks are still coming through. It's the reason why DFM have been able to do the run they have, go from their worst split in history to still come back and make it to the finals. They just wanted to do it on hard mode, one could assume. Coming back now, we've given our predictions, gentlemen. We think V3 are going to win to different levels, but we do believe they're going to be victorious. What is the world where DFM go to Worlds and represent us looking like?
So, there is a world where we see the bot lane of Utapon and Gang continue the dominance we've been seeing. There is a world where Boogie is controlled. Steel has been doing that versus some very high-level junglers. He's done it versus Once. He's done it versus Blank. Those are not small names in the LJL. If he can do it again with a bit of assistance from his team versus Boogie, that is how things turn around. And then just the individual laning prowess of DFM at its finest is pretty damn strong. And that could take apart some of V3's very fast decision-making and great teamwork.
Sure. He's figured it out, boys. The script has been leaked. Initialize has already let it out the bag. Initialize, as you're already leaking the script, what's one thing you would love to see from this matchup? And I'm doing this all on purpose, but come on, tell me which champion you'd love to see be brought out on this finals.
So we've finally seen Evelyn come out across the world.
Oh, crazy.
Self-made and stuff. And I have been dying for Boogie to pull it out for months. He's been hovering it in Champion Select. He is a fantastic player in the Champion and solo queue. It hasn't really made its way over to LJL, and I've been telling these guys, like, look, I'm telling you, Evelyn has got it. And I'm really hoping that will be coming up, because I think that could be really good fun.
The thing is, V3 are relatively practiced with picks which prey on sidelines. The Kazakhs, they played that for a really long time.
Yeah.
And you've also got a player like Ebby, who's actually been caught out a couple of times when trying to split push. And if they're playing stuff like Shen, that's what he wants to do. There is a non-insignificant chance that we do actually see Evelyn.
So we've got Evelyn happening. Nymera, sir, if I may, what one thing do you want to see from this series?
What I want to see is INTZ from the CB LOL take to the stage today, because they played and won with Ari yesterday. I sat up last night watching some of the other regions across the world. What do I want to see? I just want to see some damn good League of Legends. I don't care about the champions. I don't care about anything else, really. I just want to see a team that can make me feel good coming into the play-in stage. There has been a narrative around the LGL. Our individual players are not good enough. We don't have the coaching staff. We don't have the read on the meta. We play too slow and boring. I don't want to see that today. I want to see peak level League of Legends, and this time it won't come from Europe. It's going to come from the LJL.
Oh, yeah, steal their tagline. It's actually here. We've got the best in the world. And Boogie has actually been, at some points, the best in the world, having stats, breaking it. Arya as well has been representing, getting some of the highest KDAs, and some highest KDA 2 weeks, separate weeks as well. That's absurd, the kind of level of play we've been seeing. I know. Go for it, Nightmare.
I was about to say, Boogie had 1 week where he had a 40 KDA. He, at that point, had the highest KDA of any player in the world outside of one player in an ERL who'd played like a game of support center and had a ridiculously high.
No, it was Yumi. It was Yumi. And he got like 70. And it was like, okay, sure, mate.
Yeah, he still has, coming to this finals, a 9.4 KDA. That's still absurd, guys. It's not quite the same like 17 odd that he had. But this guy is such a man to watch. And it's not like he's going to be uncontested today. Steel has been on a rampage.
Steel has got some of the best, some great stats, honestly, but then compare the KDA, which is a terrible thing to compare because it's so relative to the matches and everything else. But 9.4 for Boogie, as Nymera said. For Steel, 3.8, and he's third. And he's third with that KDA. That just shows how insane the difference is between... Yeah. It really is, and what's insane is Boogie has been doing this with Lilia. Brand new came out, slammed it in series against Sengoku, forced them to ban it against him. That's the level of play that this player offers. He can just play anything and everything, and will probably play it to a level that most players dream of.
Yeah, I mean, the guy plays a mean Lilia. He plays a mean everything, it feels like, especially if he can carry.
Remember Zeko from Spring?
Yeah, well, maybe that comes out at some point. But I think the other thing to point out is, like, we haven't really seen a Hecarim as yet. We've seen 1 or 2 bans floating around, but that's kind of in it. And in some ways, some of these squads haven't had to show all that much. DFM put up the Leona Shen against Sengoku yesterday, but that was kind of the new tech for them. There wasn't anything else in there that made us go, oh, that's a surprise, not seen that from them before. And similarly with V3, they kind of dismantled Sengoku themselves. They didn't have to show all that much. So there are still some things, I think, waiting around that might yet to come out. So maybe that Hecarim.
They did end up playing that series a day after the Schalke SK series in the LEC, and pulled off a lane swap where the SK couldn't. They were very practiced at that. That's the one thing they have shown, so that's the caveat to that.
That's very true.
V3 have been rotating around the map very, very well. Their vision control has been immaculate. If they bring that today, really hoping that we get to see the next level up from them. What else have they got in store for us?
And that's what's incredible to see from this squad of V3. They only started playing together as this unit, as we've already mentioned earlier, in this spring, and they've already come so far. The spring V3 and the summer V3 are night and day different teams. They're completely different rosters when it feels like, but the nameplates are still the same, which is the phenomenal performance and practice that this team has. I do want to make everyone aware that is watching out there, we will be playing on patch 10.16. That is why Hecarim is still an important pick. It is not the nerfs that came in 10.17 have not happened yet. So the horsey is still very good coming into this.
Peak horse material.
And, brilliant.
I mean, I have to say, I came upon a realization, which it hadn't quite clicked in my head until yesterday's games. This is actually the game that we started off the split with. We had V3 DFM Spring Split Game 1, got it in the finals.
Gentlemen, we're into the pick and ban phase. Players are ready to go, so take it away.
It is a pleasure to be on to the Rift one more time. My name is still Samuel, initialized Hapgood. I'm still joined by Alexander Nymera Hapgood. We're still here casting some League of Legends V3 Esports, taking on to the blue side this time around. Their roster is Paz, Boogie, Ace, Archer, and of course, Reiner.
And as we said, we don't know whether they're heroes, villains, but they're here today. It's DetonatioN FocusMe. It's Ebby, Steel, Seros, Yutpong, and Gang, and their coach is Kazu.
And there are some bans that have come out, and 1 or 2 of those blue side ones raising my eyebrows. That Leona has been taken away from Gang. That Heimerdinger has been off Seros. Bit more standard for DFM, but that was a Pantheon first pick over for V3. VCS is bleeding over already.
I was about to say, we've done our tenure in the VCS, working on the English broadcast, the fan broadcast there, and they play a lot of Pantheon support. This could be a flex pick between jungle, mid support, can go in a lot of different places, but DFM snapping up that center, which they did play to such great effect yesterday.
They absolutely did, and it's been one of Utapon's most played in recent times. He plays it super well. It matches up really well with Gang, and Steel here thinking of locking in the Nidalee nice and early, though it's worth pointing out, hasn't really got all that much setup locked in as yet, but there's still room for that to come through. Now I got to see what Boogie wants to go towards. He's hovering the Evelyn, and I would love it, but he's going to go instead towards the Lilia, which is another one of those very big power picks at the moment.
Absolutely is. I'm just casting my eyes through a couple more of those bans because the Nidalee's been locked in. That does make that Renekton such a powerful ban in its own way. Renekton Nidalee it's the new age Renekton at least because Nidalee has a bit more utility outside of the first 10-15 minutes of the game, after which Elise feels a little bit sad about the following proceedings. Ashe has been locked in for Archer. We saw that once or twice in the series yesterday. It was suspiciously missing from a few of the games. But what wasn't missing in their CGA series for DFM was Nico. It's been a pick which Ceres has been going right the way back to. It's back today.
He's pulled it back. It's been a great option to things like the Zoe. We know Ace does like to go towards that as one of his more lane-dominant picks when he goes towards it. He's not really a laning player, is Ace. So I'll be curious to see how he fares against the Nico. And there is, of course, still room for that champion to be flexed. It doesn't actually have to be made. We're just assuming it is, that's where it's normally gone with DFM.
Very true. Can go towards that top lane, and that can be. I have a couple of friends who play on hit/crit Nico in the top lane.
Of course.
I'm not sure if it's good. They just like playing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is technically a flex pick. We have done our due diligence. This is the public service announcement. Nico, it turns out, can be played in multiple roles. We have a lot of bans. We have the second round of bans coming through. Paz will not want to play versus Gnar in the top lane. Maybe that signals they're going towards the Volibear. I remember against Sengoku in the game that they lost, game 2, it was Paz losing very heavily in the Volibear-Gnar matchup. Don't want to play against that. So just a little bit of context what they might pick up in this next round. Whereas Reiner, his Thrash, his Nautilus, he's been playmaking so well on them, they've been taken away.
They're all gone. The Rakan as well. There we go. Away from Gang, who has generally looked good on that in the past. It's something he's gone to. As most recently, you be quiet. And I suspect DFM will be saving Ebby's pick for last to give him that counter pick option. So removing something like the Gnar, which is a fairly good counter pick option into the right kind of matchup. Say the Volibear, I can see that option. But instead, they'll just insta-lock the Shen that looked so good versus Sengoku Gaming.
There's no Leona on top of that, though, of course. That was banned in the first round versus V3.
It was.
From V3, or rather. The Shen, though, Ebby was winning a lot of matchups with that. And now that the Gnar's been banned away by V3, maybe they don't have that same choice matchup into that top lane. I was about to say, hovering the Orianna, Ace has not played that this season. He's hovering over LeBlanc. That's definitely something which he has played. It doesn't necessarily have the easiest matchup into the Nico. Skill matchup for the mid laners. Not necessarily something I'd say is V3's MO.
It's not, but LeBlanc alongside the Zoe is that kind of I want to have agency pick that Ace goes towards a lot. V3 lock in the Scion. They have lane swapped with this before. They have paired it up with Lilia a lot before. Have to see whether DFM are prepared for that because V3 have managed to get themselves honestly a fairly good skirmishing squad with a decent amount of team fight potential as well, especially with a couple flanks from a Pantheon and LeBlanc to catch people off a little.
Let's say, V3, every champion has pick potential. You've got the Pantheon with the ult, the Grand Starfall, and of course that Shield Vault W. Ashe has the volley into the ult, all of these kind of things. Lilia with the Lilting Lullaby ultimate too. And then, of course, Stein being able to follow up on all of the above, and the chains from LeBlanc is still being very, very effective. Looking to see how V3 use all of their pick potential. Now we've also got the entirety of DFM's comp locked in, and they're not shy of playmaking tools either.
No, they're not. Gang's Bard locked in as that final option, as you said, and that is a big tool for that playmaking you were just alluding to. And it's CC now pretty much in every lane to set up for that Nidalee as well.
Yeah, he's gone for a multi-class. You know, he was one-tricking a paladin.
I see.
Last series, you know, he reached like level 10. Thought, I've already got like my smite doing loads of damage. Let's go for a bard game and make sure we pick up some of that inspiration in the support role. It's up with the Senna too. There's a lot of global or semi-global presence from that lane. You have the Senna ultimate and also the roaming of the Curse of the Black Mist, and then Bard having the Tempered Fate and the Magical Journey can very much sway the map into DFM's favor with the impact those two champions have.
It's Shen versus Pantheon as well. We've got those two quite big impact globals. One makes a move, the other can respond.
Wait, it's Shen support and Pantheon? No.
We nearly saw that. There was you could see Gang debating the
Bard top, yes.
The Camille option was what I was going towards, so taking that Shen towards the bot lane.
I'm glad we're on the same page here.
Yeah. Oh, in all honesty, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. But okay, we've seen the lineups. I'm aware that lane swap option is available with Paz picking up the Scion, but you've seen the rosters. What are you thinking about now we've seen the initial draft?
What I'm thinking about right now is we have Lilia and Nico in the same game, and they do look remarkably similar.
There's a similarity in the color palette, I got you.
I know you're trying to look for an analytical point, but all I was going through my head is like, oh, I wonder if we'll get a hack room.
Yeah.
Okay, right, we have both teams locked in. I love both the tools to team fight and the tools to play the map very wide from both teams. Because both teams have answers to most of what the other team want to do because they share some of those same tools, it's going to be about the execution. It's going to be about the level of play, and that's exactly what we want from these teams. We want a series which levels up, teaches, and pushes these teams because they are not going to catch any easy breaks at Worlds.
No, that's for sure. And I think that is our baseline for this game. This is the team we'll be sending to Worlds. This is the team that we want the LJL to kind of show ourselves with. And that means that I need to see some high-level play here, or we're going to come in with some worries. Already seeing some level 1 ward sweeping shenanigans. That ward will go the way of Ace, so he'll be hitting level 2 a little faster.
Yeah, on the first wave, because normally as a solo laner, it's the first melee minion of the second wave which gets to level 2. If you get any kind of, if you're in range of a ward that dies at level 1, you do actually get enough XP to level up on the very last minion of the first wave. Instead, it's a little thing. It's a nice feel-good moment for V3.
You can see as well that Reiner swept out a ward in this bot bush as well, so he got that one as well. So a little XP advantages here for V3 early on. It might mean nothing. It could also mean that level 2 Pantheon comes through a little earlier than DFM are expecting, and they get first blood off it. Like, it's been done before.
Oh, man. Maybe. Archer and Reiner, they were waiting to see if Gang and Utapon were going to take the more risky way back to lane. I think seeing that they are not coming back that way on the same timer, they are just going to leave that brush, and we have ourselves standard 2v2.
Okay, so standard 2v2, that's some pretty aggressive stuff coming out early on from both these squad. Auto into now the immediate cleanse as the shield vault came through from Reiner there. That's a big one.
It's not just that, it's the empowered shield vault, which means you get those 3 quick auto attacks after you vault in. And because you have press the attack, those 3 auto attacks proc press the attack. The immediate cleanse out from Utapon, I think, was very necessary. Otherwise, you'd lose way too much HP from that trade, and maybe even die if Ignite was committed.
And something we've been seeing out of DFM is they have been winning bot lane so hard through this playoffs. And the early trade there going in the favor of V3, partly because that's what Pantheon does for you early on, don't get me wrong, but it's a change in pace, a change in narrative.
Early game champion does early game things.
I know, right? But it does perhaps stand against what we have been experiencing from DFM, who have been so good in those 2v2s early on as late.
And they have been, because as we've been saying, Utapon has probably been the best performing member of DFM this entire split. Gang is maybe the best player on form. He got our player of the series, or at least he will do with for that last series versus Sengoku. He has just been so confident on anything he's been picking, but of course that Leona too. We haven't talked about the junglers. They've been just full clearing. They're keeping pace with each other as it stands right now. So no real openings thus far on the map.
No, we'll have to see whether junglers do think to go for an early gank here. Of course, we said with the first clear, it's looking like the initial skirmish will be around this top side scuttle crab. Ace will roam earlier than the likes of Seros, so we'll have to see how this goes out. Already down about half HP, and I think V3 should have just secured this. Boogie has smite. I don't think there's going to be any chance for Steel to even get in and close and get that smite down.
Now, Hits the spear. Very fast, but still has the jump away. Archer and Reiner, I love when this happens. If you have a priority bot lane that has some kind of accessible CC in their kit to slow down the Scuttle Crab and make it easier to take, you can just secure a double buff, double scuttle for your team very easily. I was wondering whether Steel was going to go for a top lane gank. The wave is pushing in on top side. It looks like Paz will be safe for now, and Steel is channeling the recall.
He's definitely doing that, that's for sure, but you can see that Lilia has snuck into the bush while he's doing that, so it could be a little problematic for Ebby if he's not careful. Now Steel's actually gone all the way back, so they could be an option to gank here, unless this is just looking for the counter gank, because
Yeah.
DFM have historically used Nidalee plus CC top laner so damn effectively, and frankly, on cooldown, it feels like.
Oh man, we've seen some very back and forth TV2s from DFM in that top side, but they just love to play towards it. The Shen allows them to play a bit more diverse because, of course, the Shen as a champion does get himself across the map with his global ultimate. Okay, right. Back to the first resets from these junglers. They both managed to get back up onto the map. Maybe now they'll start feeling a little bit more confident about what they're doing. In the mid lane, even CS. Top lane, relatively even CS. Bot lane, we are starting to see an advantage, but then, of course, the wave will be evened up. There's really nothing else besides that.
It's kind of showing in the gold right now. It's a slight one to DFM, basically, because Nidalee got on the map faster after clearing, so she's just gone through a couple more camps, and that's kind of it right now.
No, that's literally it. We do see Steel in the this is the thing about the LeBlanc versus Nidalee matchup. If you jump forward proactively as the LeBlanc and Nico is in range with the Tangle roots, or Tangle Blabs rather, that, of course, that A, the root coming out of your return pad of your distortion, the mind game really begins. You end up having to sit there wondering, okay, how ballsy am I going to be with this? Am I going to be standing up here and making sure I'm trying to get the chain in and trying to just like win the mind game so I don't get rooted up, or there's a lot of things that can go that way.
That means that Ceros does get that slightly preferable back. It's not the full lost chapter, but it is amped home to boots, which is like those small advantages which you kind of come out of forcing the back at a slightly inopportune moment for the LeBlanc.
Meh.
Exactly. That's
meh.
it.
They're in fact, actually, honestly, probably the boots are more important.
Yes, you can avoid the boot.
Like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
But move speed differential is one of the strongest things in the game, particularly when you are a CC heavy champion. If you get to walk up running a time warp tonic on LeBlanc, I don't know whether Ace is running that read. You might be running the Transcendence Mana Flow. In fact, I imagine he is. With the boots anyway, you can walk up, close a bit of distance, and that means that your chain is just that little bit easier to hit yourself too. He won't be needing to hit any chains right now, except onto a dragon. That's what he's doing, because they take that for the first objective going down in the game. V3 get themselves a mountain, and nothing really to be responded by DFM.
They are thinking of going towards this top side. But you're absolutely right, and considering DFM have, in general, focused so heavily towards those first drakes, towards that bot side pressure, V3 kind of going against the stats there a little bit and really pushing in on that bot side and doing really well with it. It's kind of that 10 CS-ish, 15 CS-ish lead right now for Archer and Reiner down at the bot side.
The thing is, you see Steel trying to maybe find an angle into the top lane, and they think, hey, that's weird. Why would you try and focus on the Shen? He's the guy with the global. Bot lane is really going in the favor of V3, and look at their vision in bot side jungle. They have themselves a lot of pink wards. Boogie going very deep here, and there is a Shen ult. This could be where it turns around. He sniffs it out, isn't caught, and he runs out of the jungle free.
And of course, with the
It's a
movement
free
speed you get
spirit
from Blooming Blows, does just get to roam very fast.
Yeah.
Free as the wind.
Yeah, so it's like, I was talking about this the other day. Do you remember all of that one period where there were just so many horse movies? Remember like Spirit, that DreamWorks one?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm there with you.
No, I'm loving the free Spirit vibe.
Okay.
I can't remember any of those horse movies. I am not particularly a horse, but I'm a human person. I'm not a horse person. Either way, Boogie is a free spirit and has gotten away with that failed invade. And he also can't double over the wall. Please don't do that.
Don't try doing that. That's always a sad thing to see. You cannot eat over a wall. But instead, Reiner has roamed up here. It was a double pink ward, so that was a mistake probably from the likes of Steel and Seros trying to do the same thing. But with the Rift Herald starting up here from V3, they're using the pressure of this Pantheon very well early to make sure they're at least on top of these objectives. And I don't think DFM are looking to contest.
No, they're not. They haven't rotated up their bot lane, whereas V3 have initiated the lane swap. They were winning that CV2, remember? So this is actually maybe a bit of a large investment for them. They are going to get the Herald. Shen has the ability to get out of the situation with his ultimate if there were to be a play onto the Sion, but diving Sion very, very hard. And if he dies, he comes back and he gets to clear the wave, so often you don't end up getting plates afterwards. Shen is going to back off from this turret. They have the Rift Herald as well in the pocket of Boogie. He's ended up being going down into the mid lane. Ace, looking at the bot side, maybe he can find Steel here.
Steel has not got Spike quite yet, actually, so he needs to be a little bit aware, and that will mean the red buff resets.
But then he's now a good, 10 seconds behind where he wants to be. That means that if he had gotten that buff, maybe he could contest with those Raptors. Boogie gets them for free. Reiner has himself his empowered passive, whereas that's a lot of... Wait, you spawn, dude, I'm not sure you want to be there. This is a Sion ult.
Yeah, it's a Scion ult, and that was well played by Paz to punish the attempted shove onto the plates
I
there.
think he just got an empowered Q and cleared most of the wave. Utapon then stuck around, not really having much HP to fight with, only has a tier 2, no combat stats. Paz just chunks through him.
That's another summoner burn there for Utapon. That's a little bit that's going to be some I was going to go somewhere with that, but clearly not
Where have
right
your
now.
words gone, Sam?
Into my not my brain clearly is where
Yeah.
that's where I'm trying to go with that. But
Or into your vocal cords.
no, that one too. Gang has roam top to defend the Shen here against the pressure, but actually might be a bit of a risk considering the lack of flash for you to one of that bot side in the 1v1 versus Sion. We'll have to see how that continues to play out as Rhina and Boogie sat around in this red side jungle looking to see whether they can catch someone out, but Steel will get to his Raptors. Always a bit of a challenge versus Aurelia.
There's production. Do you mind having a look and seeing when the last time Rhina played Pantheon was? He's not played at the split, I'm pretty sure. I would have remembered that. I'm pretty sure he didn't play it in spring. I really need to. I want to have a think of this because we've seen him go like 5-0 on spring on both Tom Kench and Nautilus. He had some really powerful individual picks, but he didn't really branch out this much. So I really want to have a check on if he's ever played this in competitive before, whether this is the thing that they've been hiding.
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, it's looking pretty good thus far. It's definitely earned them a lot of pressure. It's earned them the early Rift Herald, the early Drake.
And you know how like you bring up stats to reinforce your point? So I was not talking about Saros at all, but we can do that now.
Yeah, we can, and he's had a very good time, largely speaking, on this Nico, outside of one game where
Arya did dirty things.
Arya's Zoe managed to get out of lane, but actually we're going to have to take away that. It's a magical journey on the bot side. Now Rhina in a spot of bother. That is a miss on the stun from the Cosmic Binding and the Spear, and the play is disengaged by V3.
Oh, it's because he's a very experienced Pantheon player, and he knows it's not... No, okay. It just ends up not working out. He loses about half his HP. Ebby now under a bit of threat. This has gone down to 2.5 plates in the top lane. This might be the full turret going down, actually, and the plate's going over to the Scion of all people.
Sion will claim them, but Ebby gets behind the eye, manages to taunt off the Sion while he's there, which is pretty good news, and does save the tower, actually, which is also good news.
It's still 4 plays.
And DFM will go over to the Dragon with Seros in mid lane, but they're in this bush. Boogie needs to be careful. He's going to have to flash out of the Tempered Fate, but now Ace in a spot of bother as well. Takes a lot of damage. The Glacial and the flash in. No! That Dawning Shadow was inches away from hitting, but that flash will save Ace's life, and he stays alive for now.
Oh my word, things getting very, very spicy on the turn of a dime. Got the Dragon started up by DFM with the chunks that they took out of V3, but V3 are not stop committing yet. Oh, big damage on the Steel.
Is in trouble, but manages to get out. For now, he's still alive. But here comes the Sion. Oh, it's been interrupted, but that is the Bard that falls. Now Paz in trouble. Here comes Nico, though. Fantastic option of the route, but a flash out from Archer keeps him alive. Steel gets Pantheon in the backline, but DFM's health bars are now in trouble. Boogie misses the watch out, but Paz stepping forward for another decimating smash. It goes wide, but Utapon does actually get hit by the edge of it, stays alive, but DFM's health bars very low, and they'll have to back away from the Drake, and a 1-for-1 trade overall.
It's a 1-for-none trade, I believe. I'm trying to see
they got Rhina.
They did get Rhina. Yes, they did get Rhina. Yes, you are correct. I was trying to think who died on DFM. That was what I was asking. Youthpon's healing up with the Qs. They're still committing.
And they're still going to go in. Ace is there, but wait, that's the Tangle Bobs on the Boogie is so low. Double for Steel. And now V3 have gone deep as the Steel on the backside goes down to the ghost of Sion, who gets the Ocean Drake as well. The fight goes towards DFM, and they'll get that, but that was some good turnaround play from V3 to at least get themselves the Ocean Drake. But yes, it is a 4-for-1 in favor of DFM.
My heart can't take it. The Boogie has Dark Harvest, uses the ult, and they chain it up with the Ashe ult, not the Sion ult this time. Gang is the one that's caught out. That's the person who died at the time. I was like, who ended up dying for that? First blood goes over to V3. But then you can see the power of this Nico. Just zones back the entirety of V3 when they do want to be moving forwards. And this route onto Archer means that the DPS doesn't get to follow up, even when the Paz is flashing forward to get some CC onto Utapon. He ends up getting more Qs. He's auto-attacking the minion wave to get himself back up the Q cooldown, and that just means so much more HP is now available to DFM because of those Qs coming through from the center. How does everything come through after this point? Looks like it's Saros and Steel hitting their skill shots, and both of them taking a name or two at least going over to Steel. But then Paz, turns out it's all part of his big brain, big brawly Sion guy plan. He just uses the passive to its full extent, gets himself the dragon, and now that does mean V3 have 2 dragons on an Infernal Rift.
You know, it's not quite had breakfast yet. You know, there's I'd love some cranberry juice. They did get some zombie in my life to go with that.
Quiet you.
Some old school Irish rock references, and we'll move on from that as V3 claimed the top lane turret. They'll claim the bot lane turret, and that pulls the gold lead ahead in their favor, but it's not by much after the fight went so heavily in favor of DFM.
It doesn't mean the gold has gone in favor of them too, though. You look at the gold at the top of the scoreboard, and it is still somewhat in the favor of V3. A lot of that's through the plates. First turret advantage, 5 plates on that top lane. We saw how those popped up on the bottom of the screen. Steel and Crew going to start up with this second Herald. There are no plates to be taken with this one. The first one was taken early on by V3. Now DFM have the chance to break open a turret with this. They used it in the series yesterday to attack mid lane turret most of all. Where are they going to go today, though?
See on your screen as well some of this gold, and a lot of it for V3. Interestingly, is onto the Scion, who's got about 1,000 lead over this Shen. But Shen's pretty low economy. He doesn't necessarily need all that much gold, whereas the gold for DFM is onto this Nico, 202, onto Steel, 3-1-1, who have been looking pretty strong early on in this game.
Yes. Senna is not an anti-tank champion.
No.
Nidalee is not great in team fights against something like Scion either. Nico can only really hold him in place. My question to you, which you would normally ask to me, is who kills Scion if he's that far ahead?
The whole of DFM autoing for 5 minutes, 30 minutes into the game, because we didn't really get round to that in pick and ban. I was gonna hopefully pick that up at some point.
Sorry, I was talking about...
Instead, we talked about how Nico would...
Hang on.
And Lillian look really... So let's go.
First off,
why
they
kills
do.
Scion?
Yeah, and that might be an issue. Of course, you can still win a team fight without really caring about the Scion because you just kill the backline, right? There is only the Scion to be that frontline. You can only be in one place at one time. If Ceres ends up slipping past him, or if Utapon is free-firing somewhere else, or a spear lands, there are ways where V3 can lose someone very important, and it doesn't matter how far ahead Paz is in the game because his team's already dead, and he doesn't carry the fight with damage. He carries the fight by just buying up so much time and cooldowns that would be more importantly used elsewhere.
Okay, so we've got about 1.5 minutes to this Infernal Drake. We'll have to see whether this next fight will go a similar fashion to the last. That's a Tempered Fate that lands onto Archer, who's now in trouble.
Flash.
The rest of DFM are here. Here comes the Shen ult as well. And Archer just goes down. That's a massive Pot Blossom on top. It's a double to Senna. And she gets out, but Nico goes down to the back end of it. Ace is here. Ebby's still alive, but only inches, and Ace flashes forward finally to get the kill. But he's getting stunned up in place. Boogie gets the heal, but Utapon gets another. And it is, in the end, a 3-for-2 in favor of DFM. But damn, did it get close.
Very, very close. Archer, no flash, punished by Gang, and then the whole team is there to follow up. DFM roving around as a unit, and they're picking off people under this turret, and they were trying to get the full mid lane out of turret. It doesn't look like they will do because the Eye of the Herald opens up nicely for Paz to take it down.
That was something. V3 hold on to the mid lane turret, but it cost them a fair amount. Let's look over this. It looked fantastic for DFM early on.
Okay, right. So it looks like they just didn't track the entirety of the movement of DFM's team coming from this mid lane. Archer steps up. You'd think that'd be safe in most compositions, but he steps up close to the wall. He gets Tempered Fated. He gets a Cosmic Bound up to the wall. He's CC'd in place, and then V3 have to play the rest of the fight without their AD carry, and that is a big loss of damage for that team.
Yeah, and you could see...
Oh, look at that. That is a hitbox. Oh. That is such a hitbox. Ugh.
Boogie survived the initial Dawning Shadow with the latest possible flash. Those Mercury Treads saved his life. He gets out, and then he dies a little bit later on, but... Here we go to teleport in as Paz ends up rooted up. But remember, he's still pretty tanky, even this early on. But actually, he's taking a fair amount of the glacial slows, actually turning out to be fairly frustrating here.
It's like, you are without a doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of. But you have heard of me. It's this Scion. It's like, oh, he's taking so much damage. But he's still alive.
It does mean, though, he's teleporting delayed. He's having to back straight away as this Infernal Drake spawns, which is a bit frustrating.
He's fine, maybe.
You got to hope, which means he won't have it for this fight, potentially, as the Infernal Drake not being stunned by the
Fate
team.
is available again. There is Flash and Archer this time, but he's a little far away from his team.
Seros is around. He's looking to go
Rhino,
forwards.
fifth
Does
row.
have Pop Blossom. That is the Tempered Fate onto Rhino, who's now in trouble. The teleport coming through. And that Pantheon does get the Age of the Legion up in time. But the Pop Blossom coming through for Seros. This does not hit because of a good flash out. But now, here come V3 to punish the extension. Sion gets a shutdown with the help of Lilia onto Utapon. And V3 turn this engage around.
Told you he didn't need teleport. Comes in with the ult. Ace popping over the wall. Baits out the taunt from Evie. Will V3 fall back now? Because Utapon, the AD carry, is dead. And remember, last fight, Archer being dead, the AD carry for V3, was what turned the fight for DFM. It does signal the Dragon Star for V3. It's Infernal Soul point for the first placed regular season team in the LJL. It's been a close affair. No one pulling out to those huge advantages yet, but this might be the fulcrum at which this game 1 turns. Okay, back into the replay. Normally I'd let you talk now, but I'm going to talk. Rhino uses his E when coming out of the Tempered Fate so well. Look out, let's see how much damage he blocks. He blocks Cosmic Binding, Tangled Barbs, W, Q from center, auto attack as well, and then he flashes out of the Pop Blossom. Rhino, he's only played the champion once before. Production did find that stat. He played it in summer 2019. He went 7, 2, and 9, so he had a good performance then, and I hazard, I might be early on saying it, but he's having a decent performance right now.
He certainly is, and
Like,
it will
rarely
be
do you see that much damage blocked by a Pantheon.
It's, I mean, just straight out of the Cosmic, the Tempered Fate as well. That was about as perfectly timed as you could possibly get, because DFM were very swift on the CC afterwards. It just wasn't quick enough, and that is why we rate this guy. He might be 1, 3, and 2, but some of those plays have been really, really crisp.
And speaking of them being 1, 3, and 2, and you have Archer at 0 and 2, that's something to talk about. We're talking about these bot lanes being really, really good on form. The best AD carries in the region, the best supports in the region. DFM right now have had the beneficiary of most of the gold, even though they were losing early lane versus this duo.
Well, they have still got no towers. They're down 3 Drakes. The second one was a steal. The third one they couldn't secure after they got a pick. And then end up losing a pick of themselves to lose the third.
I dispute that. It was not a steal. It was a wonderful zombie silence secure. Yes. Yes. You heard me.
Interesting to note now that V3 have managed to convince Blitzcrank San that 83% of scenarios they will win this game. Ebby stepping forward from behind. It's the clone. Because it was the clone doesn't glow green is the thing.
The clone doesn't glow green to the spectator, and also teleport gives you movement speed. So I'm like, Ebby's his teleport's like halfway off court. Okay, so it's not a what's happening here?
Yeah, no, I was like, wait, no, that's actually Seros. I got baited there. Either way, can see that Ace just got himself an Oblivion Orb. I don't know how effective that's going to be against quad Merc Treads, but there you are.
He might have to go towards Morel and Omicron. I would have preferred the Executioner's Calling from Archer, but when you've got Senna and Athene's on the same team, because you've got the Athene's heal from Nidalee, and then and also Mikhail's too, right? I mean, that's not a healing thing anymore, but still, you have a lot of decent heals on the team of DFM. Morello is not an awful purchase this game, nor are there enough HP stackers for Leandris to be fully effective.
That's probably fair. So I can see the argument there. I'm just so used to a lot of our LeBlancs going towards something like the Banshee's Veil second to allow for the free poke. That Tempered Fate was a bit of a suspect option, but DFM will buy themselves priority over this mid lane turret. It would be their first of the game, but Seros now caught off to the side, is in trouble, and he's going to try and pop Blossom onto Boogie, but that's going golden is now Boogie. But here comes the Shen. It's a turnaround. It's never completely free. Ace goes in, does go down. That's huge. The Dawning Shadow comes through, but now DFM are in a massive spot of bother. Paz buys time on the other side, and 2 members of DFM fall. Both solo laners are dead, and it's 23 minutes in. It's going to be Baron live as well as V3 shove in on this mid lane tier 1.
DFM have done really well this game at picking someone off before the fight. It didn't work out for that last dragon, and it certainly didn't work now. Tempered Fate misses, and the grouped members of V3 take to that fight like a duck does to water. I assume that's a good thing, I've heard. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, Ducks on Water. And V3 win that fight handily 2-0. It's relatively split. Let's see how it works out in the replay. Archer steps up back towards the turret. Almost gets caught out by Gang. Maybe not positioned in the correct way. Didn't force out the... Well, of course, he didn't have a flash to force out. But then, see what happens here. Sionol, Pantheonol onto the poor bard at the bottom of this fight. What did he ask for that? He's out of the fight at this point, whereas on the top side of the map, no one is there to peel for Seros besides Ebby, and Ebby dies for that attempt. Both solo laners go down. It's a good fight for V3.
V3 get the pick, DFM do not, and that's now a couple that have gone kind of away from DFM after the early ones were looking pretty good for them, and this Sion... yeah, he's taking damage, but it's not enough to kill him. He just gets to walk out, and that one, he just held off 3 members by himself. We were worried about it.
And now San has 2 completed items. We have the Leandries on Lilia, big breakpoint. We have Executioners calling 2 items, the core damage for the Ashe. And this is all in time for Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. There are good items on the other side too. Double Glacial for Saros. He can start controlling some of the terrain. And then we have the large amount of lethality coming out of Utapon with the Dust Blade instead of something like a Yomu's coming out of that Manamune, which is also coming completed as well. This is going to be a huge fight.
All right, Paz is going in, gets interrupted by Ebby going forward. The Tempered Fate hits none, but it will force V3 into a slightly weird spot. But Saros going forward, gets 3, but he's not going to find any follow-up, which is massive. Oh, and Steel does get Archer with the last gasp spear. That's huge. Infernal Drake is live, and V3 are going to pull back towards it, but DFM want to try and get this mid lane turret before they move over. It's 30 seconds on Archer. Here comes the teleport back in from Ebby. You assume Paz has not been able to back because Steel has spotted them out, and now DFM with the wave shoved in, move over to this Infernal Drake and will prevent Infernal Soul from going over to V3 unless a miracle occurs.
Steel with that spear might have just extended the game for DFM. First Dragon of the game against the 3 in a row from V3 goes to DFM. A large part of that was Saros finding an ult which hit onto multiple people for the first time this game. How did that happen? Back into another replay. We're seeing a lot of the pass in this game. Ebby blocks the Scion ult, which is trying to combo onto the Lilia ult. Seal survives. Saros makes sure that the rest of the team is not in so much danger. Oh no, he gets caught by the Tangle Barbs, and Reiner does not manage to get in front of the spear in time. Archer goes down.
That was, we'll call that clutch, but Archer is going to be kicking himself for that one. It's those small things that can change a game. It was the Scion steal earlier. It was the Tempered Fate backstep. Yep. This time it doesn't work out. It's been neck and neck, and I was asking for a close series. I think we're getting it at least here in game 1. It's been a long time coming in these playoffs.
It has been. We've had we've had the 1-3-2 between DFM and V3. The rest of it has felt a little bit one-sided in each series. Boogie teaming up with Paz on the sideline, maybe not the person who's the easiest to punish in the Shen in this long lane, but Boogie, I guess, felt like he was not really going to find much of an impact anywhere else on the map. He's going to head into the bot side jungle, but you know we were talking about the vision control from V3 earlier. Look at this bot side and how much it's been littered with wards by DFM.
That's a lot of zombie wards, that's some traps, that's some regular wards. They just don't want to give up control and giving Ebby a chance on the side lane. That means that Boogie won't be able to find the gank he was looking for, and honestly, Shen can be fairly hard to take down. Lilia's not awful into him because a lot of her damage does go straight through the Spirit's Refuge, which is often his way.
Keep stacking your passive. You know, your passive is on them. Just make sure it keeps on there. Your Leandries are there too. Keep running them around.
Indeed. But for now, that's not going to be the option. Swell Seed is dodged by Utapon, but that was a little closer than perhaps I was expecting as Reiner takes a spear to the face.
I have to say, actually, I don't mind something like Pantheon for V3 as a team, because they are a very vision-centric team in a lot of ways. And having Pantheon, who can build Umbral Glaive first, is really important because it means that he clears through just a lot of wards. You can see that he's got himself like 74 vision score, not actually falling behind Gang in that regard, so he's doing well to keep up. But having that extra item, being able to on a very short timescale clear out a lot of wards, can be very important when you're setting up for these objectives.
Definitely can, and it's also worth pointing out, of course, DFM still have no towers right now. It's 27 minutes into the game, and they've got very close on a couple of them, but like V3 have held on with like their fingernails, this mid lane turret in particular.
I think a lot of that is because Paz is winning the wave push in sidelines. So Ebby is not really getting the priority over the sidelines. He's not really being able to push up into the enemy tower because there's just too much wave clear, too many stats on Scion to fight him. Ace has even gifted that. I was like, oh, I wonder why Boogie's doing that. No, he's just letting it leash a little further. And that's another thing, right? Boogie and Steel. Boogie, this guy has been an absolute breakout star in the LJL. Steel, I would say, has been maybe the better jungler so far in this game. That spear, very important. He's 4-1-3. He's been controlling a lot of these fights and having so much threat onto the backline carries. But Boogie still has a lot of playmaking opportunities in that Lilia ultimate. Saw it combo up a couple of times. Let's see how the next one goes.
Well, DFM finally going to be able to get a wave into turret, and that will be, hooray, a 28 minutes of first turret for DFM. V3 have already managed to take the whole outer ring. So it basically means the gold is all of 1,000, if that, apart in favor of V3, and it means it's so damn close. The breakpoints are the Drakes really at this point being so in favor of V3. They have this win condition for at least the next 2. And then after that, it's all anybody's guess.
Exactly. And the thing is, Infernal Soul, for a team with range and who can easily apply it, is very, very important. LeBlanc can walk forward. UQ, and suddenly that is Ludens and Infernal Burst on top of it. If you hit the chain after that point, that's someone like Utapon who's half their health is gone.
Yes.
Volleys from Ashe are doing a similar kind of thing. Well, maybe not quite. It doesn't have a Ludens. Ludens Ashe is not something I would suggest you build in professional games. But we do, it's definitely...
Only in your solo queue when you're playing with Nightmare.
Oh, it rings true. But yeah, no, having the volley being able to be just very easy to apply to targets too, very, very important. It just means that your burst is pretty incredible too as a 5-man unit of V3. So if they were to secure this dragon, which is coming up in 30 seconds, that would be a huge objective for V3 to get. Let's see what's going to happen with this, though, because DFM have no wards in the area right now.
They don't. They're trying to get the wave shoved out, but they're walking into potential danger. That Steel getting ulted, but here comes the Shen. It's too late. Lily's gone, but now the Pop Blossom coming out. It's on to 3 again. The Dawning Shadow is fantastic, but DFM are running shy on damage, and they've already lost one. Ace stepping forward. I think V3 have done it. Ace in the backside is low. Archer gets Shen. Ace flashes out, stays alive, and that will be Baron. It will be Infernal Soul. Seros gets caught as well, and it's Ace dancing around with the mobility. The Swell Seed does catch on the edge of that wall, but it's just this Nico trying to buy time, buy some space, stays alive. But can she even recall is the question. Seros is there.
Wait, they're not taking the dragon? I would have just taken the dragon, guys. Infernal Soul's pretty important. Ace is fishing. He's not found him yet, but Seros has cancelled his back. Is he going to take the blast plant? He finds him!
Oh, yeah, whether it's Ace coming over, blast plants him over, gets the ace. That's going to be the Baron. It's being taken fairly slowly, though, even at this late into the game, I apologize. They've got the silent tank, though, and it should be going down faster.
Okay, but importantly, because Seros was just playing shenanigans, playing Ring Around the Rosie, he dies very late. He won't be up if they want to contest from this Infernal Dragon, which DFM have not managed to rush themselves. I think just saying, there's another 30 seconds on Nico. We can't fight a 5v4 at this point, particularly with teleports coming in. It's going to be such a huge victory for V3. If Seros hadn't died so late at the end of that fight, maybe they don't have to give up the Infernal as well. It's now the worst of both worlds for the boys in blue.
Yeah, it really, really is. And V3 finally get the fight that might break it in their favor. They have Infernal Soul, they have Baron, they have a gold lead that matters of about 4,000. Let's look at this replay once again, because it all goes so well for V3.
Steel gets hit by the Lily ult, he gets hit by the Scion ult, he gets hit by the absolutely goddamn everything, and is muked from this mortal plane. Seros doesn't have the same level as ult as he had in that last fight, importantly not catching Archer. Archer has 0 damage put onto him, and he can walk forward very easily. Ace gets exhausted, which is important too, and at that point you think, okay, maybe you can turn around to the LeBlanc. It doesn't happen, and it just doesn't happen in a time scale, which means that V3 can regroup and start pushing forwards once more, and that's how they get themselves those 5 kills in that fight.
Also got to call out, Reiner stopwatch the Pop Blossom to stop himself from dying. Boogie stopwatches the Dawning Shadow that stops him from dying. Look at the damage dealt. It's not like DFM are that shy on it. Just that niddly damage glaringly missing in that one.
Turns out when you die before you get to do literally anything, you don't actually do any damage either.
And no, you don't. But here comes the siege, and with the sheer muscle in front of it, Ace goes forward, gets loaded up, he's dead! That was very aggressive. No Banshees fell, and now Paz gets interrupted in a bit of spot of bother. Ebby is here, but the slows from Nico are huge. Reiner in the Tempered Fate as well. Paz, this Scion, falls down. It's a shutdown, and the Baron power play goes wrong. In comes Gang. Reiner gets the Aegis of the Legion, or the Aegis Assault, I apologize if it's not the item, but it's a shutdown for Utapon, and DFM slap back in that fight.
You were saying, we see LJL, LeBlancs go for Banshee's Veil. We said, maybe that Oblivion Orb, maybe not the best thing. Ace jumps into a Cosmic Binding and loses his team this fantastic situation they had found themselves. They've lost themselves 3 Baron buffs. They've lost themselves 3 members. And with this last minute, they cannot push in for anything across the map. I told you how I went down myself. Gets hit by a spear, gets hit by absolutely everything. Ebby's there too. Dives in blind over the wall trying to look for something. Anything, but turns out he can't one-shot 4 members and goes down for the pleasure.
He thought Steel was there by himself, and the rest of DFM just waiting behind that base gate, and they caught out Ace going a little deep.
Another top-tier binding, just gets it on the edge of that wall. And DFM, not out of this game yet, however, still down 4,000 gold still down, and Infernal Soul still down. Another 3 dragons on top of the one that they have. It's not necessarily in their favor, shall we say?
No, it is not. But what I am happy to say is it's not like I'm seeing poor play from either squad. I'm seeing something resembling some fighting back and forth. People going for the killer instinct. Like, if I get steal here, maybe we have the.
You know what I'm happy to say? Swassel. It's a really cool word.
It is a
French
really cool
for
word.
60. Sorry, anyway, on to other things.
I was hoping it would be something relevant.
Nope.
Instead, it's Blitzcrank here, who's moved his rating up to 91% as he's going in onto Ace, who's taken very low. Does get to go away, but he's being slow. Manages to get out with the second to store. Arrow comes out. Tempered Fate misses. That's a few ults burned from both squads, but there's lilting lullaby coming in from Lilia. Ebby forces Ace to go back, but the watch out eat hits on Ebby doesn't do all that much, but that is a grand starfall onto the shed, who's trying to run away so very fast. Gang goes down. Ebby is burning, not quite down, but is now. Boogie gets that one. Pop Blossom is big. Seros goes golden, but the rest of DFM can't follow. And the last fight went the way of DFM. This one goes in favor of V3. The Infernal Soul is just too damn strong. And who needs Baron when you can just murder the opposing team?
The Baron is too strong. Well, the Infernal Soul is strong. Oh, they're still fighting.
Utapon's gone. And now Steel trying to get out, does burn the flash and stays alive, but he is one man versus the whole of V3, who have claimed the inhibitor here and may well be looking to end this game in very short fashion. There's still 20 seconds on Evie. There's a teleport coming through, and V3 onto the final Nexus turret. The emotes come down. It's Gang who might be able to buy time, but it's just not going to happen. And V3 Esports strike first in their series. It was back and forth and back again. It'll be V3 that come out the victors in this first one.
DFM may have found themselves a wonderful opportunity to get themselves a Royal Road through the entirety of this bracket, but they find staunch opposition at the first hurdle in these finals. V3 play the objective game. They get themselves the Infernal Soul, get themselves the win.
All right, so to break that first game down, we'll cut to a swift break, but after that, we'll be back with Matt Swan at the analyst desk to talk about this game a little more. You're absolutely nowhere.
We the toughest, about to kill it. We break it through all your ceilings, so watch it, Japan to level up. When it's time for the battle of our lives, League of Legends will rise. No biggie, see this a rebel punch. It's one team, one dream. Let me tell you this in all fairness, that we fearless. Hope you hear this. If you careless, we defeating everybody on your tier list. Whoa, we got the fight in our heart, the light of the dark. We overcome a struggle till we stand tall. I mean the biggest comeback of all time, like I'm soldier. Support for my team so we can't fall. See, legends never die, that's a fact. When I'm back against the wall, you know we gotta react. So we ready to go to war, about to even the score till you believe in it more. Then we launch our final attack. Let's go.
When the lights go out and the sun goes down, we don't show no fear in this ghost town. We will fight our fight, look this beast in the eye. So many rooms to choose, we ain't got time to die.
We ain't got time to die. Everybody on my squad
ain't got
feeling so
time
alive.
to die.
We ain't got time to die. Everybody on my
We
squad
ain't
feeling
got
so
time to
alive.
die.
We ain't got time to die. Everybody on my
We
squad
ain't got
feeling so
time to
alive.
die.
So we ain't got time to die. Everybody on my
We
squad
ain't got
feeling so
time to
alive.
die.
Hold up. My team on the rise, keeping our eyes on the prize. Leaving you big shoes to fill, just keeping it real, playing these champions' eyes. Yeah. LJL got what it takes. Separate the real from the fakes. Yeah, the lions and snakes. Winners ain't nothing for debate. Like, whoa. No. The losers ain't quick to react. Probably taking a nap. Over now, history fact. While we moving through like Nip in our victory lap. Oh, God.
When the lights go out and the sun goes down, we don't show no fear in this ghost town. We will fight our fight, look this beast in the eye. So many rooms to choose, we ain't got time to die.
Living legacy, making history. Won't you come with me? We ain't got time to die. I win the night with you by my side. I know that I'm alright. Living life like a legend. Ain't got time for heaven. We ain't got time to die. No, we ain't got time to die. No.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the desk for the LJL. Officially Unofficial, bring you coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Finals. Must one, initialize, Nightmare still here. Game 1, gentlemen, V3 take a game from DFM. And that was a game of two sides, in all fairness.
It really was. Early on, V3 managed to get themselves not really necessarily gold leads, but did at least get lane pressure, particularly say that bot side. Translated into the early Ocean Drake, also the early Drake, I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Ocean Mountain. There you go. Someone was paying attention. And they got themselves the early Rift Herald, and that was what they bought themselves, was plates and the early objectives. But apart from that, it was feeling pretty damn close.
And the thing is, DFM found themselves the fight, then they didn't really find themselves the gold lead either. So it's like, wow, we've got objectives and kills and no gold splitting the two teams.
Yeah, it was a weird one. V3 had objectives, DFM had the earlier kills, but the gold was still relatively close, if slightly V3 favored. Moving on throughout the game, though, DFM did look to take an early few fights, and it seemed like maybe DFM might have a way of winning this and actually could outfight V3 in the early game.
I think a lot of it was someone getting caught before the fight. We saw that Boogie get caught by Steel on the side, and then in the mid lane for the next fight after that, Archer caught out by Tempered Fate. But then all of a sudden, the picks just weren't flowing so quick and easy as they were in the early game. V3 just kind of tightening up where they were positioning and where they were moving around the map in regards to where the rest of their team was. And then DFM really couldn't get that numbers advantage to bring into the team fights.
Yeah, and it also just helped that V3 managed to secure a couple Drakes against the run of play. Scion Zombie stealing
Yeah,
one.
that was the big one.
Managing to get over to the first Infernal Drake, having won a fight for one because their health bars were too low. And that kind of meant that with some early towers going the way of V3 as well, struggled with vision and were kind of a bit predictable because they said, well, they're going to be around this Infernal Drake because they can't give it up. And V3 really abused that very, very well in this game.
But in also all credit to V3 as well, V3 were able to disengage when they realized they lost the numbers advantage. We don't have to fight for every single Drake. We can back off. They decided not to go for the Ocean Soul Steel, for the Infernal Soul Steel. Wait for it, go back around later. Were able to secure it, especially when DFM didn't get it as well, which was mildly surprising. Lots of team fights happened, but I think what was part of V3's victory was the Scion, which is played in almost nowhere else, but here with Paz, doesn't matter, finds it, and, well, it worked, didn't it, gentlemen?
Absolutely did. Seno doesn't kill tanks very well. Scion is the tanky tank. He is someone who scales
Omega
very, very
tank.
Well top lane. Omega tank. And between him and also some very wily play from both Boogie and Reiner using either the shield vault, the Aegis,
Yes.
Aegis assault from the Pantheon to ignore that facing damage, and then stopwatch and Zhonya's. V3 managed to provide themselves enough of a front line to just play the messy, broken fights very, very effectively. And while all this was happening, Paz were just having the fight at like 2/3 HP because they just couldn't cut through him.
Yeah, and this whole...
in that,
go for it.
that mid and late game, Paz was getting into the back line. Ebby was not. It's been the first time in a while, especially considering how well he was playing on the Shen. Yesterday even, that Ebby's not been able to find proactive Shen plays come mid-late game particularly.
Losing that Leona definitely does seem to be hurting him, not having to be able to engage straight on to gang, as well as Syros having more options to ult in on. Definitely hurting the man himself, but this is Ebby we're talking about. There's a reason he's gone to Worlds. There's a reason he 1v1 Visage Archie. He is a very solid top laner. Gentlemen, after that, though, V3 pretty much ran over this game, except for a minor hiccup where Ace dived over blindly, and then the rest of the team kind of backed him up, but it went not brilliantly. But even then, Blitzcrank Blot still gave them 90%, so...
I know with the LJL, I know we love our anime, but the power of friendship cannot help your mid laner bashing his head against a brick wall and finding 4 members of DFM stood there. It don't work, kids. Don't try this at home. Wear your helmets when you're skateboarding, because this is what happens when you don't.
Unless your name is Yugimoto, then I wish you luck.
That was the only way they were able to really kill Paz in the late game, you realize, where 5 members went onto him for a solid 5 seconds and were like, we're going to get him, lads. We're going to get him. It's just going to take a while. Well, gentlemen, game 1 in the books. V3 have taken the lead. Let's find out after this break who takes game number 2. Don't go anywhere, people. We'll be back very soon.